Okay, these are the notes on the changes of state, how matter changes forms. Matter can change from one state to another when thermal energy is released or absorbed. Thermal energy can be kind of thought as heat at this point. This is called a change of state. So anytime it's changing form. We've got solids and liquids and gases that we have already talked about. From a solid to a liquid, that's melting. The change from a solid state to a liquid state is melting. The temperature at which a substance changes from a solid to a liquid is called its melting point. Okay, so if you think about water, the melting point would be 32 degrees. That's when it starts to melt. That's when it starts changing from a solid to a liquid. Melting is when matter absorbs thermal energy and its temperature rises. So it starts getting warmer, and that's what makes it melt. The next type that we're going to be talking about will be freezing, going from a liquid to a solid. Freezing is the change of state from a liquid state to the solid state. Okay? Temperature at which a substance changes from a liquid state to a solid state is called its freezing point. Not all substances have the same freezing point. But going back to water, because that's the one we're most familiar with, especially this time of the year, we have snow. Snow freezes water freezes at 32 degrees, okay, or any temperature that's colder than that. Energy is released during freezing. After all of the liquids have become solid, the temperature begins to decrease again. Okay, the next one that we'll talk about will be going from a liquid to a gas, which is called vaporization. Vaporization, or evaporation also, is a common, another type of vaporization. It's the change from a liquid to a gas. The temperature of the substance does not change during vaporization, but it does absorb energy. Okay, that's what makes it change into the liquid. Into the gas. There are two forms of vaporization. Vaporization that takes place below the surface of a liquid is called boiling. Okay, so the steam that you see when you're cooking with a pot of water on the stove, or the steam from a steam engine. The temperature at which a liquid boils is called the boiling point. Vaporization that takes place at the surface of a liquid is called evaporization. Okay, so that's why a puddle will go away, because it will evaporate. It doesn't boil to get it to turn into, to go back into the atmosphere. It just evaporates from, the heat from the sun. Okay, the next state or change that we'll talk about is going from a gas to a liquid, which is called condensation. Okay, condensation occurs when a gas cools and the particles start to slow down. Okay, we know that a gas has particles that are free to float around. Well, when they start getting cooler, they start to slow down. When particles move slow enough for their attractions to bring them together. Okay, remember that surface tension that pulls the molecules together. And then those droplets form a liquid. This process, which is the opposite of vaporization, is called condensation. Okay, think of the sweat that you see occur on the outside of like a cold glass of water. That's condensation. Okay, or even just precipitation is a form of condensation. Okay, the next one that we'll talk about is going from a solid to a gas. Okay, these next two ones are the ones that'll be a little less common. Okay, you might not have heard these ones before. But from a solid to a gas is called sublimation. Sublimation is when a substance can change from a solid state to a gas state without ever becoming a liquid. It goes directly from a solid to a gas. An example would be like dry ice, you see in the picture. During the process, the surface particles of the solid gain enough energy to become a gas. So it happens so quickly that they don't go through the liquid state. It just goes straight to a gas. And then the last one will be going from a solid, the last one we're going to talk about is deposition. That's going from a gas directly to a solid without ever becoming a liquid. Hoarfrost is an example of deposition. If you can see in that picture, these water vapor that was in the air went straight to a solid when it froze. Okay, and these cold temperatures, we might see, if you look for it, you might be able to see some hoarfrost because it just happens so quickly that it changes from the gas straight to a solid.